Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. I was in the mood to create something a little different, and this is what I have come up with. These I call my TakeALong Journal Kits. They contain a ephemera holder, a journal, a pocket notebook, a bookmark, a couple of paper clips, and lots of ephemera. So because I was in the creating something different mode, I, of course, do what I always do, watched a bunch of videos, and then took those ideas, and this is what I've come up with. Each of these contain three things: the ephemera holder, which is the large piece, a pocket notebook, and the journal itself. And they each have two paper clips that I have made and a bookmark with a charm. So I hope this is something that you're interested in. There are so many things that you can use these for. Gifting, selling at your craft fairs. You can sell them individually as one kit like I have done. Hope that you'll stick around and let me show you how I made this. Let's get started. Okay, so I think for this winter one, I'm going to use, this is called Simple Stories. I'm not a fan of winter. I love the thought of winter. I just don't like the cold. So I'm going to use the things that came with this. I've picked out some of the papers. This paper pad was 6x8. For all of the items, all of the things in this, we need, let's see, 4 6x6 for the notebook, or for the ephemera holder. We need 2 6x6 for the journal, and 1 6x6 for the pocket notebook. And I have cut them down from 6x8 to 6x6. So let's start with the pocket notebook. First thing I'm going to do is get out my scoreboard and decide how I want my inside to look. The outside really doesn't matter, although it does have some words here. So to make them be the right way up, I'm going to do it like this. I'm just going to fold it in the middle. Not even going to score that part. I'm just going to fold it in the middle and crease that good with the bone folder. And then I'm going to mark the bottom of it at 1.5 inches. I'm going to score 1.5 inches because that's how long I want my flap up to be. I think I made this one a little bigger. I think the other ones were actually 1 3/4 instead of 1.5. But we've already done it this size and it doesn't matter, so we're going to leave it like this. If you want to do the notches, I kind of just fold it over and do them at the same time with my circle cutter. Okay, so I'm going to go about halfway in the middle, and then they'll both be in the same spot. I'm going to ink around the edges. I think I'm going to use some teal to ink with instead of the vintage. I am going to use some vintage, but I think I'm going to use some of both just to mix it up a little. I'm going to use some of this teal and probably some pink. Let's round the corners. Should have done this step before I start inking. It's easier to ink around the lip before we glue it down. I think the teal stands out against the tan background, so I'm glad we did it that way. Okay, so now let's just put a little bit of glue on each side. You can also use double-sided tape. I'm not a fan of it for many reasons because I'm not very good at it. For one, I always stick down where I don't want to stick down. And I'm going to crease this again because I like to make sure this lays as flat as possible. So now what I do, I just used one of these notepads from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take 10 pages out of here. Again, my tutorials are not measurement friendly. I don't do a lot of measuring. So then I put them in here to see how short, and it looks like if I just cut them with this first piece right here, everything's going to fit inside. So I'm just going to take my ruler and one of these box cutter looking things. Don't know the appropriate name. It's kind of hard to see with that white. And then just cut as even as I can. And it should be just perfect. Well, I have bound this in with ribbon. I have used thread. I've stapled it. I think this time I'm going to sew it just for something a little bit different. And I'm going to use some binder clips to hold it in place while I'm sewing it. Let's round the corners on these. Alright, so I have all the pages rounded. And I think one more thing I'm going to do, ink around the edges just to give it a little color too. I have some of this Victorian velvet. I'm just going to hold my papers together like this and just go around the outside, hopefully getting most of the edges. Kind of gives them some color, something a little nicer to look at other than white pages. Alright, so let's put this back in. Gonna clamp it back down and sew it, and I will be right back. Okay, so I had sewn down through the middle. I just used white thread, and I did backstitch at the top and bottom, so I'm just gonna snip that off. And I'm thinking when I sewed it, I should have probably sewed in if I was going to use some lace or some ribbon, and I didn't do that. So I guess since I messed up, of course, when I'm filming I mess up, normally if I'm going to put ribbon here, I either use it as my binding or I put it down first, put this on top, then staple so your ribbon is laying flat underneath here. If I put it on now, I'm just thinking, is it gonna, when we tear our pages, the only thing is I hate to wrap it around the edges because I don't want them to start bending or breaking down. Is I'm gonna put a little bit of glue down the center, just down the center where the ribbon will still be loose on both sides. I'm gonna use clips to hold this where it will dry, and then I'll tie the bow. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and decorate our cover. I have some of these die cuts that came with the pack and some stickers. I'm going to cut a piece of cheesecloth. Maybe not with those. Wow. Maybe not with those scissors. Cut a piece of cheesecloth. How hard can that be? That's okay. Just fraying the edges a little bit. How about this? Frosty Friends. It's simple and it's still very pretty. I like that. I hope you do. And this is just a little pocket notebook, so it's okay that it's not. I think I will use some of that teal on this cheesecloth to give it a little bit of color. Not heavily, just enough to maybe around the edges. Okay. I think because everything else is going so smoothly, I'm going to go ahead and use the Fabri-Tac on this and not mess with trying to use my glitter glue. And I don't really want it all glued down because I want some of that edge to pop up, kind of give it a 3D looking. Then I'll do it like that. Go vintage photo around this. Alright, these should be dry. Tie our bow. And I will not waste this. What I cut off, I will use it. I am going to glue this knot, though, where it will kind of stay in place. I think I'm going to put that there. I guess this just goes to show you, even somebody like me that just messes and goms, it will be beautiful. Just keep doing your thing, and it will be beautiful. I'm wondering, is that going to work at the top and the bottom? Okay, so what I ended up doing, on the outside, I put a little shiny dot, and I have some of this pretty cardstock that came with it. I like the textured side, so I'm going to make tags out of these to put on the inside. I just have a card here that I think it was a gift card, and I just cut little pieces out so that I could use it for tag cutting. And then I have a little heart punch that I think I'm just gonna make little hearts in the bottom of these, and I'm gonna round the edges. I think I will go ahead and punch the tops. I take the backs, you know, the black piece that catches your dots, I take those off, because if I don't know exactly where I'm punching. And I don't care that they fly everywhere. So there is our little tags for our pocket notebook. And I'd like to say, now see, wasn't that simple? But it wasn't. I made a mess of it. But I'm hoping that either it will come to me how to fix this and make it look better, or when I come back and look at it, I'll be like, well, that's not as bad as I thought it was. So there is the pocket notebook. Next, we're going to do, I'm thinking what we ought to do is stop for today, because the way, if this is set the stage for how this is going to go, it ain't going to be great. And I really had my heart set on this piece being on the outside. But if I make this like the other ones, because you score this at a 1/2 inch, the back piece you score at a 1/2 inch and wrap it around, well, then it would cover up most of my pretty front. So I'm not going to do it that way. So I'm going to score this at 4 1/2, the front on the right side. And then on the back piece, this is going to be my back piece, and I want the birds to show on the back. So to make them upright, score it at 1 1/2 on the left side for the back. But instead of wrapping it on the outside, I'm going to glue it on the inside. Same thing, same difference. It's just that on this piece, it's going to be on the inside instead of the outside. So you still have the same size folder, but on the inside cover, you're going to have these two pieces instead of it looking like this. And I'm not sure I'm okay with that, so I'm going to think about that for a minute. What about if I did it like this, folded it out, and there'll be a pocket on the front? I like that because I like that brown. I say let's do it like this. Okay, so to be clear as mud, on this one, this is how we're going to do this one. I've scored the front 1 1/2 inch on the right, the back 1 1/2 inch on the left. And I am going to glue the back to the inside of the front. And then on the front, instead of folding it in for my pocket on the inside, because I've already got this lip here, I'm going to fold it on the outside. I'm going to glue the two edges. Now for our papers. So I've cut my sheets down, and because I'm using some of the papers that came with the kit when they sent it, most of those are cardstock, so this one is a lot thicker than my other ones, and I want to keep it pretty flat, so I'm putting 8 sheets in this one. The other ones I used more thinner scrapbook paper, and I used 10 sheets, so you just use whatever you want to. In this one there will be 8. The ends that you cut off, keep all of those, because we'll use those in the ephemera folder. So I'm going to use my bone folder, crease all these edges really good so that they will lay as flat as possible. And they're not all the same size, and that's fine too. So it kind of looks like everything fits with the exception of this teal. So I'm just going to trim that down even with the rest. I think my height needs to be adjusted a little bit. And basically I'm just wanting to make sure that when I set it inside, I have a little room on each end. Like this. You do it however you want. That's just kind of, I like it pretty tight, so I'm going to leave it just like that. I don't think this one needs a lot of embellishing on the outside because it's so pretty. I love this so much. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind it with some pretty string. I probably don't need to show how to do this part. I had some really pretty rose gold thread. Oh, I just found it. I think I will use it. I started to blame my grandson. He's always wrongfully accused because there it was right on top of my desk. I know everybody knows how to do this, but the only advice I have on this is I used to, when I did my 3-hole punch, I would lay it down and run it through like this, and my holes were never right in where they should be. But if I stand it up like this, it seems like they are more on the seam. That's just my advice on that. Now I'm going to want to sew. I want my bow to be on the outside, so I'm going to start on the outside. And this is kind of thick thread, so, I mean, it's not real thick, but it's thick enough that I can't pull it through easily. So I'm just going to take my little pliers here and pull it up. And I just tore my string, but that's okay. I mean, I have to tear it because I'm doing a tutorial and this has not happened before, so it needs to happen right now. Guess I could always edit that out, but I probably won't because that's really how my crafting goes. Although I will say that has not happened before. All right. That's crazy. Okay. So now I'm going to go back out through the middle. Maybe. How about that? First time. Probably break the needle this time. Well, that seemed a little too easy, didn't it? I'm sure I have my papers upside down or something. Something's going to be wrong. I'm just double checking, which I should have done that before I did that. Alright, so they're fine. Put my needle back where I don't step on that. Okay. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut my thread. String, I should say. I've done this with embroidery thread. That works good. With the wax thread. I've done it with all kinds of things. Pretty much anything will work. Just making sure that everything folds over nicely. And then I'm going to tie my knot. Maybe I'll do a little bow. Just like so. Trim this down. And then I also like to put a little bit of glue just to make sure it sets right. And I may also singe these where they don't unravel. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a little bit of the Fabri-Tac right at my bow. And then I'm just going to clip it while it dries so that it will sit pretty. Probably going to put some die cuts. I also found some flowers. Well, my grandson found them for me. This grandson is 18 months old, and he likes to be in the craft room with me, which my craft room is like everybody else's. It's a hot mess, so it's probably not the safest for him to be in here, but I do watch him, and he is so sweet. And I was picking out things to make this package, journal package, and he brought me these flowers, and I thought they were beautiful, and they'll look so pretty. I had some more that were kind of the mint green. Here they are. They have little brads with them. Some kind of beige ones too. Those would be pretty. And I think that completes our cover. I don't think I'm going to put anything in this pocket. I think that I'm just going to leave it. I don't know. May change my mind. This project isn't done yet, and this is what we have so far. So you have your 4 pieces of 6 by 6. I'm going to score a 1/2 inch at the top. Make sure all my pages look like I want them to look. I don't guess it matters because I'm going to be moving them. I'm just trying to make sure I know which one's page 1, 2, 3. So on the first page, I'm going to score it at a 1/2 inch at the top. And I'm not going to fold the other pieces yet because as they fold up, and I did try to make something different with this kind of a binding where it was, you know, the fold, and they didn't say to wait. They just said to score them all at a 1/2 inch, and it didn't lay right. So I'm not going to worry about scoring any of the rest of them yet. So that's all I'm going to do with the first page. The second page, I'm going to put my scrap pieces on. My page is 6 inch, 1/2 inch for the fold, so that I'm going to probably cut these about 4 3/4, I think is what I did on the other ones. My scrap pieces will be 4 3/4. So just whatever colors of scrap you want. I'm going to use a little bit of everything, I think. These bigger ones I'm going to use for the last sheet. I just like to round up all the pieces extra that I have so that I'm not wasting anything. So now I just want to make sure they don't even have to be the same width. I just want to make sure they're all the same height. And like I said, I think I'm going to cut them to 4 3/4. So I have them both the same height. I wanted these two together. So it's going to fold up like this. So I'm going to clip them at the top. It's going to paper clip those on, then I'm going to sew right straight across. But let's clip on our 4th page. This is page 3. Not going to sew anything on that one. And the last page is where I'm going to sew the bigger, wider pieces. On my 4th page, I want it to set kind of like that. I think I want it over to one, well, it doesn't really matter. I'm probably going to put it over to one side a little bit. Not totally centered, but that's where I want it to be. So I'm going to leave it right there. And I'm going to sew a zigzag down that side. So I'll finish the sewing and then I will be right back. Okay, so on the last page I sewed zigzag on the bigger scraps. Just going to trim those because I did back stitch on them. that's page 4. Page 3. This is page 2. And my page 1. Actually, page 2 should be... I didn't do that right. So page 2 should be like this. I'm sorry. So I have page 1,
2, 3, and 4.
So now I'm going to make sure they're all even together. I'm going to clip them to bind them all together. And so I have my little line across here. Again, I don't measure, so I take my crocodile, which I did move it to where it'll stay at a certain spot. I'm thinking it's probably 1/4 of an inch because it goes about halfway, and make the holes. I think I'll just use, or these antique-y looking ones. I think I'll go with those. And I'm not gonna have you watch that because my eyelets are bigger than my hole. I didn't get those with this crocodile, so
around this short piece
they're a little bit bigger, so I kind of have to waller them out.
and
I usually
inked
just take
around
my awl
to make a short pocket
and-
for my 3rd page.
Is waller a word? Yeah, pigs waller, don't they? And the last one. So now, to make them all fold well, I kind of use a combination of my bone folder and my fingers. So your first one is already folded. I just crease it, make sure it's nice and smooth. I just fold the 2nd page up with my fingers as close to that as I can get it. Do the same for the 3rd. Straighten it back out, and all of your sheets will fold up. See how nice they lay? Page 2, 3, and 4. We'll pick out some really pretty ribbon to put in here. But to finish the inside, the last step are these 2 pages. We're going to put the pockets on those. I normally have enough extra pieces to use, but I don't this time, so I'm going to get some out of here. While I'm here, I'm going to get some of these pieces to use as our fillers for our pockets. And I think I'm going to use this paper on both sides and just fold it in 2. And I just cut these slightly shorter. Well, I want to cut them. I didn't, but I want to cut them slightly shorter than my page. Perfect. Okay, and how I make the round part, you could freehand it, of course, but I can't because I just can't. It's just not. So I like to leave a little bit of edge. I don't like them to go to a total point. So I leave a little. I just take my masking tape, something that's round. I've used a bucket, whatever you have. And I draw around it. Erase my markings. Then I just hold it up to the other page, and this one does have a way that it goes, so you have to make sure you're cutting the right side. And I'm probably just going to draw it because usually when I try to cut the 2 pieces together, it doesn't work out very good, so I'm just going to draw the circle like that. Some people just hold it up and then cut next to it. I'm not coordinated enough, I guess, to do that. So do whatever is easiest for you. So now we have our 2 pieces, and I'm going to sew around these. First, I'm going to ink them. Okay, so I've sewn around these. You really can't tell it because it's white. But if I'd have had some pretty teal or something, that would have been really nice. Okay, so making sure I've got my picture the right way, I'm going to glue these down. Beautiful. I love this paper. To save time, I went ahead and decorated this because the video was getting a little long since I had so many blunders making the little pocket notebook. But all I done was take some of the die cuts, inked around, and glued 2 of them to the outside, glued on a little bit of lace, and then I ran the ribbon through my eyelets and tied a bow. And this will still come out. I didn't glue it or anything. It's just tied in there. So on the first page, the pockets, I went ahead and took some of the little scraps that I had and made pockets on each. And I put little stickers. This one says snow day. This one says first snowfall. And I went ahead and cut out some of those, or used some of those cards that I showed you earlier that came in the kit to use to fill these pockets. But I did take some of the scrapbook paper and made tickets, or I'm sorry, tags. Put a couple of the stickers at the top. Rounded the edges. Nothing fancy on that. And this is also just the scrapbook paper. I cut a hole out and tied some pretty ribbon. It's kind of like yarn, and there's 2 different kinds on this one. I put pink inking around the edge. Those go in the first pocket, and then in the baby pocket, I made a couple of these little tags out of that really pretty scrapbook paper that was textured. Cut little hearts out, had some little tickets. Actually, I think I put those in the wrong. I'm going to put those down here. Put the one with the pink ribbon up top. Little few tickets. And then I just had some extra scrapbook paper and I put that in. And just, I thought they just looked pretty and looked color coordinated with our pockets. On this pocket, I put another scrapbook piece and I kind of rough cut the edge where it, I don't know, it'll make a pretty tag, but it's, you know, this is a, what I call a travel journal kit. So all of the things in this book you can use to decorate your journal with. So that was the way I was thinking of it anyway. And then the bookmark, I went ahead and laminated, put some die cuts in there, little few doilies on the back, stickers, made a little charm, laminated some of the die cut pieces and a little piece of sari silk. And those fill out the first 2 pages. Then on the 3rd page, of course, I sewed the scraps. On the 4th page, I left off with putting on this pocket, and I just put a sticker on to decorate it. I have some of the little cards that I cut out. I inked around some of them, kind of cut them in different shapes. Made a little paper clip out of some of the stickers. And this tag, I believe, was from maybe some of the packaging that this stuff came in. And I just put some stickers down and pretty ribbon on it. Tuck it in there. And then on the last page, of course, is our sewn in pieces that can be written on or used in your journal. And I have another paper clip somewhere that's bigger, but I don't know what I've done with it, and it will go in this. And when I do a walkthrough of these for the Etsy shop, I will have it on there. Those are our 3 pieces for the Take Along Journal Kit. I guess that's what I'll call it. And if you were really taking it, I mean, you can pack it all up, put this one in the front pocket of your journal. I'm thinking for this one, I would probably put it in my car. I'm always needing notes, something to write on, or, you know, I would put this one probably in my car or my purse, keep it with me. And, oh yeah, found the other paper clip right there on the top. Safekeeping. It's the little boy and girl, and then the back of it is a snowflake. So I would tuck it in there, and then I would just put this one probably where on the third page because there's nothing there, and just leave it like this. Then you tie your sari silk around, and you have a completed travel kit. You have all of your things you need to take with you on vacation, on an outing, or when you're sitting at the doctor's office and you have nothing else to do, or you just want to take your things with you without packing up everything. All you would need with this is maybe a pair of scissors and some glue, because you have your journal and all of the ephemera that you would need to decorate it in this little kit here, this little fold up matchbook, and then of course the extra little notepad. So I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked all the things. I hope it wasn't too painful. And like I said, I will have a complete walkthrough of all of the ones that I've done when I list them in my Etsy shop. If you have any questions or you make these, please put comments below. Show me your pictures. You have different suggestions, or, you know, you don't like it. Tell me that too. Anyway, I was thinking one more thought for a craft fair. If you do craft shows, this piece right here, if I had done it correctly, maybe takes 5-10 minutes to make, because you're basically taking a 6x6 sheet of paper, folding it in half, folding up the flap, putting in 2 tags, and either stapling, sewing, binding this paper in, and you have the cutest little notebook. And everybody needs a notebook, a notepad for messages or memory, jotting down things you don't want to forget. I know we all have our phones, but seriously, I still make notes about everything. Gift, perfect stocking stuffers, and the whole kit is perfect for someone that you know that likes to write. As a last note, I promise I'm wrapping this up because I know this video turned out way too long. Come to think of it, I have journaled for, I don't know, I guess since I was a young girl, but I didn't realize that's what I was doing until almost 8 years ago. And this isn't a sob story, I'm just telling you how I got into the journaling. I lost my dad, my husband, and my mom within 5 months of each other. And I felt this powerful urge to write it down. I didn't want to forget. I didn't want to forget the events. I didn't want to forget how I felt at the time, what I was thinking, what other people went through. I wrote it down. Last year, I had another difficult time, and I started writing again. And I realized the only time I wrote a lot was during difficult times, and I wanted to stop that. I wanted to write during the happy times, like when my grandson was little. He's 13 now, but we used to keep a notebook, and we would write down things that he did every day, and things that he loved, and when he would learn to say different words. And I want to get back to that. You know, I have a grandson now that's 18 months old. By the way, I've noticed that his little crackers have been laying here most of my video. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But anyway, I want to get back to writing. I want, even if it's just to write each day. I don't feel like writing today. I want to do that again. And the reason I want to do that is not only for the memories to look back on and think, I can't believe I felt that way, it's very stress relieving. Making these is a very big stress reliever. And I think that all of us have a creative side, whether we know it or not. And to be able to let it flow and do something like this really, really helps. And it makes the rest of your life go better as you were able to let some of that emotion come out, whether it's on paper, making things, drawing things, writing things. Anyway, that's my lesson for today. I didn't mean to get all, philosophical on you, but I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will have all of these kits in the Etsy shop, hopefully tomorrow, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.